Once again, your mouth locked around his. Derek tilted himself towards your touch, kissing you in return. He squeezed your thigh. You raked your hands through his short hair. Regardless of how spiky it always looked, his strands were nothing but silky soft against your fingers. The intensity deepened. You pressed and pulled your lips against each other in a much longer, much more longing kiss. Oh, so cute. This is so cute. You'd imagined there were even better kisses to come than the one in the Ferris wheel, but you were pleasantly surprised to have it happen so soon. You gasped for breath when you and him finally broke apart. Derek could only speak in a hoarse whisper. You're really great. You chuckled against his skin. Derek's vocabulary for praise rarely extended past words he could say to any guy, gal, or pal, but it was only with you when his voice was so heart-achingly adoring. And you complimented him. Yeah. Nobody makes me happier than you. You are such a stud. You are so darling. You're the best man I've ever known. I mean, I compliment him a lot about his personality and about his behavior and about our relationship and about his generosity and his manners and his chivalry. Like I compliment him a lot on those all day. I kind of want to just spend this time to just really be very like physical, to be really, really physical, because it's fun. It's very fun too. You are such a stud. You felt up his nicely muscular arms as you spoke to bring the point home. You think? His reply had the exact amount of aw, shucks, bashful disbelief it would have if you've said it randomly while chilling at the park, despite the fact that you were actually making out in his apartment. I also, everything about, whenever Derek, doesn't matter, when Derek's smiling, when Derek is, relaxed, when Derek's kissing, when Derek is blushing, he's just so cute. Very cute. Derek really liked to pause while getting hot and heavy to think, wow, Hark likes me. That's amazing. It was extremely cute. This is the biggest thrill you've had in you. This is the biggest thrill you'd had in you. Weren't sure when, and you'd just gone to an amusement park earlier that day. You needed to relax. Aiming for more of a sit over a straddle, you slid your legs over to the side and twisted on your butt. Derek kept his arms in place around you, which stopped you from falling as you got situated. Thanks. Flushed and content, you rested your cheek against Derek's hair. It was soft, even though it had always looked spiky.
You're welcome.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Derek traced his fingers down the length of your spine. His burning touch had changed to a soothing balm. You welcomed it, snuggling closer. For once, Derek didn't attempt to move right into a new conversation. His hands were full going up and down your back. That was okay with you. In a dreamy haze, you gladly listened to only the sound of his heart and his slow breaths. And then the doorbell rang. So I'm very happy that it stopped right there. I'm happy that we didn't go any further than this. This was like perfect. Because realistically, I probably would not have wanted to dive headfirst fully into that. Because I don't know, I just feel like it would just make things less meaningful. I feel like taking that step, I want to be able to, like, of course, jump his guns in general, but I also want to take it slow enough that we can sort of savor and lead up and really make the actual first time, if you know what I'm talking about, making that be super, super special. And I think doing it the very first day that we became boyfriends and the very first day that we professed our love with each other, it can wait. Good things there's still more to come. Savor that moment, savor the time that we have now. Making out, like, and doing all of this, pre-gaming stuff, doing all this pre-gaming stuff is like the perfect amount, realistically. Derek blinked wide, bleary eyes. That was definitely the door buzzer, but you could have fooled him into thinking it was an alarm clock waking him from a fantasy.
This sucks.
Man, it's been, 5 minutes since we were preparing? And I already lost track of the party thing and what we were expecting guests. Well, this time I can forgive myself for the slip-up. That was a hell of a distraction. Yes, it was, Derek. Quite a distraction indeed. Quite a distraction. It was nice while it lasted. Oh well. I forgot we even had families the second you started flirting. You scrambled off, Derek. Boo. Don't whoever they are realize they're interrupting people. You gave your boyfriend a courage pack. Boo! Don't whoever they realize they're interrupting people? Derek let out a bark of laughter, throwing his head back before promptly burying his face against you. He mumbled through a grin into the nape of your neck. Each word had his lips drag against your skin. Is it too late to cancel? Part of me was like, yeah, I mean, no, but we shouldn't. We shouldn't. There's plenty more time. We're moving in with each other. This is just day 1, man. This is just day 1. Save it for day 2 or 3 and 4 and 5 and everything else. Even though he was joking, it was still tempting for both of you. But it couldn't be done. Mustering his years of experience being the responsible one, Derek hefted you and him onto your feet. It was time to go. You hunted down your abandoned clothes and put them back on. Mercifully, they still looked presentable enough despite what you'd done to them.
Come on.
Come on! With a refreshed pep in your steps, you and Derek said goodbye to your dreamland and returned to the world of the living, which took the form of Derek's living room. But the expected smile that had been on Derek's face evened out into a bemused line. His brain was working, and then his mouth dropped open in a terrible realization. Wait, didn't I invite them over for dinner? We don't have time to make food. We could set out snacks, but what kind of dinner party is that? I said that we'd have as much time as possible at the park. I wasn't considering what that meant. We'd actually need a dinner. Shoot, we don't even have enough food in the house for how many people are coming. Let's just do takeout. It's called DoorDash, Derek. We can make this work. Oh no, I didn't either. You'll figure it out. You always do. You simply shrugged. You burst into laughter. We can make this work. Yeah, exactly. It's fine. I've got an idea. We're gonna get takeout. See? How about pizza? And the other stuff places like they have salads, wings, and so on. Good idea. Yeah, I'd have that. That makes sense for the party, but I'll eat something here. You nodded happily. I'll say, good idea.
Awesome.
Cool. You held out a satisfied thumbs up. Now we'd better actually answer the door. He stuck a finger forward in demonstration of where he was headed, then strolled over. But his hand froze on the doorknob. Oh. Then he flung it up to slap across his face.
Man.
The paint! The family can't see this! Derek saves the day again. I hadn't thought of that one. The boardwalk trip was meant to be a secret, and Derek nearly strolled along to greet his or your family with a sparkling shooting star blazing across one cheek. And you weren't any better with a soccer ball across your face. I can't believe I almost missed it, even though I had already caught that. Is there anything else I forgot today? No, that's the last one. Great. Derek was thinking fast. He let the door close, but shouted to the other side. Be there in a minute! Okay. You could make out Mr. Suarez's voice resonating through the wall, so it was Derek's family who'd come first. Derek soundlessly sidestepped away from the entrance, tiptoeing over the carpet until he was certain he wouldn't be overheard. He whispered to you, "Let's go. We don't want them to see something they shouldn't." Aha! Yeah, well, I mean, given what we were doing earlier, yeah, we don't want them to see something they shouldn't. That was spoken like a true criminal. He bolted from the living room, counting on you to follow. You did. Derek went to the master bathroom, and you the guest one. You twisted the sink on and assaulted the soccer ball with hot water and a pale yellow hand towel until it was erased from existence. You wiped down the area as best you could, then threw the towel into the cabinet under the sink to keep it away from prying eyes. It was stained all over, the only evidence of your and Derek's deed. With the job done, you hastily returned to the living room. Derek came up right behind you. At the threshold, he bent over, leaning against his knees, and settled his heavy breathing. Then Derek bounded back up and finally answered the door, seeming as unbeaten, unflappable as ever.
Hey!
Welcome! It was such a dramatic and complete recovery, you had to wonder if it was a trained skill. There might have been many days where Derek frantically put out fires and his own fluster before presenting himself before you with a big smile. Thank you! The whole Suarez family was there, crowding the narrow space with smiles on their faces. Your own family member did not have the same kind of cheer. Her lips were curved. They were here first. You took so long answering, I found them standing around waiting. Sorry about that. Liz knows what's what.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that about?
It's...
Well, the real secret of the day was your outing at the boardwalk, but a deep red over his cheeks exposed that it was a different tryst that came to Derek's mind. Hark and I were just going over the game plan.
So?
Oh, what is the plan? We're gonna get married. We're gonna get married, and it is going to be the most beautiful gay wedding ever. We're gonna get pizza, my treat.
Woo!
Woo! Thank you, my wonderful son. That's very thoughtful of you. Works for me. Derek's last-minute solution had gotten full marks. Speaking with the self-satisfaction of a man who winged a final exam and still passed, Derek pretended this had gone as he'd intended all
I
along.
figured.
I thought you might feel that way about it. Let's not order until everyone is here. Hark says Mrs. and Mrs. Angel and Mr. Holden are going to show up soon. Murmurs of understanding circulated as the group filed into the apartment. Derek took on the role of host with vigor and encouraged his guests to get comfortable. They accepted the hospitality and seats were taken all around. Well, how has your day been? Yeah, what were you up to? Mrs. Suarez's entirely pleasant tone was followed up by the openly nosy inquiry from Nicholas. However, neither had forgotten the curious hold-up at the door. We had a great afternoon and talked about some very important things. Isn't that right, Hark? As usual, when he ended up in awkward positions, Derek took the strategy of technically not lying but leaving out crucial details. Yeah, that is exactly right. That's nice. Mrs. Suarez didn't mind not getting the real answer that she knew existed. She always did. Nicholas shrugged. He wanted more, but was mature enough not to demand it. Soon, another sharp ring of the doorbell came. You and your sister perked up at the most at that sound. It had to be your parents. Liz disregarded the fact that this was not her apartment and headed straight over to answer the door. You hurried to catch up with her. Liz tugged the handle, and there on the other side were the soft faces of your sweet mothers and the more sharply featured, but no less kind, Mr. Holden. Many hellos and good to see yous were said in succession, as the Angel family joined with the Suarez clan in Derek's living room. It's a real party now. Not yet. There's still one thing missing. Let's talk toppings. Derek took a page out of his mother's book and offered an explanation to the newcomers who had to have wondered.
What do you think?
We're getting pizza, if that's cool with you. Yum. That is fine, sweetie. No complaints here.
Nice.
Perfect. With this size of a crowd, I'd say we should get 3 large pizzas. A friendly round of suggestions and debates over the most ideal topping splits commenced. More than one person wanted meal and veggie supreme. The Suarez parents both loved that one, and it had grown on their sons as they grew. Most agreed that having at least a couple simple options made sense, and Derek declared he'd get his favorite chicken barbecue, since he was the one making the order and couldn't be stopped. No one else in the group had any intention of ruining that for Derek. It was incredible to see him decide on something purely for himself. That's how the plan of 1 full meat and veggie supreme pizza, half cheese, half pepperoni, and half a pizza of chicken barbecue was determined. You let the last half set up the rest of the group. You offered up a suggestion for the last half. We should get even more meat and veggie supreme. More cheese would be a safe bet. An extra half of pepperoni would be smart. I'd like another half of chicken. How about all veggies? Could we get an all meat half? What about Hawaiian? I'd like an Alfredo side. They've got a spinach pesto pie I'd like to try. We could try their Philly cheesesteak option. Oh, I love all 3 of these. All 3 of these would be like my suggestion, and the chicken barbecue. We could try their Philly cheesesteak option. I do love Philly cheesesteaks. That sounds good. See, me and George, that's why George is my favorite. The rest of the room accepted your idea as well. And you ordered something besides pizza. Yeah, I'm gonna order something besides pizza. Salad, wings, garlic bread, chocolate chip cookie, brownie, cup of cola, root beer, orange soda, lemon lime soda, lemonade. We're getting wings. We're getting garlic bread. We're getting a salad. And then brownies. And then root beer. And then lemonade. And then cola. And then that's all. Well, lemonade, and then that was all. Liz teased you openly in front of all the parents for making good use of this being Derek's treat, and Nicholas, of all people, felt self-assured enough to joke about you being a spoiled youngest kid. Hey, I was going to offer to pay for this too. That was hilarious coming from him. Though the most impactful blow you got came from Derek himself when he gladly owned up to the idea that he'd spoil you when you wanted him to. Aww. And to top it all off, Nico and George were both emboldened by your special request. Each of the younger Suarez boys asked their big brother for a soda, root beer for George, and orange for Nicholas. Derek gladly accepted the request. Off to the side, Mr. Suarez stroked his beard as he mused to himself. Why does someone need more than one drink? Because it's a party and Hark is enjoying himself. So my husband, he's notorious. He has this thing where every single time, this is his ritual. at night, before he goes to bed, he'll have dinner really late. He eats dinner at like 11 o'clock at night sometimes. And he loves to just sit and watch his TV shows, whatever show he's watching. And he will have maybe six bottles of beverages all lined up in descending or ascending order, which will include like two Snapples, like 2 sodas, or 4 sodas. It's like two Snapples, a water bottle, 3 or 4 sodas. It's a thing that I've just grown accustomed to ever since we were dating. And it's just, it's just his thing. It's just his quirk. He likes to have 6 beverages, again, perfectly lined in ascending or descending order in front of him. And he'll take sips. He'll switch it around. He'll switch it up. He'll take a sip here of this drink, a sip there of this drink, and he'll just go through all the drinks, all 6 drinks. The man definitely stays hydrated, apparently. That's true. After it was all said and done, Derek made the call to the local pizza place. He had it arranged for delivery. He glanced over the attendees once he finished the task.
Oh yeah.
We've got some time to kill. Can I get anybody a drink? That goes for you three already getting something too. You don't have to wait to hydrate. What a kind host. Some requests were made for water and seats were taken to settle in for the wait. You got comfortable on a couch yourself. Derek collected 2 armfuls of water bottles. He went around the room passing drinks out to each person, even those who didn't ask for one. It seems saying refresh was not an option after all. It was an order. You and others near the coffee table got served first, and then he went around the dining table to catch the ones hanging out there. He was busy and in another section of the apartment. That's what you knew from the last time you'd caught sight of Derek from your position. And that's why a jolt went through your entire body when a low voice tickled your ear. Hark. You creakily turned your rigid neck to glimpse behind you. Derek was there, resting on his arms across the top edge of the couch. He had swung back around to you while you weren't looking. As you processed the situation, Derek grinned cheerily, unapologetic about the shock his move gave you. A soft thump could be heard in the air. It wasn't your heart, though it might have been. You guessed on the other side of that couch, he was tapping his heels together.
So?
I just wanted to ask if we're keeping us a secret. It's a sweet thing to ask me. He didn't have to tell you what that meant. No, we shouldn't, and this would be a good chance to talk about it. Our families are both here. Besides, they can tell something is going on already, considering the cozy position you've taken in this secret conversation we're having right in front of them. Good point. He pushed off the couch to his full height, though continued to grip the off-white fabric outside of his couch. Well, a new padding sound could be heard. Derek needed an outlet for his building excitement and found it through drumming his fingers against the cushion. While we're all together, Hark and I have got to tell you all something. Ah, you're in a relationship. Mr. Suarez! That's so mean. He totally did that on purpose. Mr. Suarez!
Really?
Really now? Dad?
Is that wrong?
What? Is that wrong? Were we not aware of what Derek felt about Hark? It's pretty obvious. Mrs. Suarez groaned loudly and hid her face in the palms of her hands. George put his hands on his hips, giving his dad a hard look. Your own parents were too sympathetic to their child's predicament to comment or laugh, though they were clearly dying to. Maybe, maybe not. We have no idea. Don't steal their thunder before they've said anything. Thank you, George! George! This is why you're my favorite. In another universe, George, after this, I demand a George DLC. Okay? Go ahead and make your Baxter DLC all you want. We need a George DLC. Doggone it. I would don't get me wrong, Derek is my canon. He is my canon OTP for this game. But I would still romance the snot out of George. Totally would romance the snot out of George too. Maybe, maybe not. We have no idea. Don't steal their thunder before they've said anything. He's right, George Gregorio. Let them talk. Mr. Suarez stroked his beard thoughtfully. Oh, sorry, kids. No. He totally did this. Don't act dumb. Oh, don't act dumb, Mr. Suarez. You knew exactly what you're doing. I can see that. Look at that devilish smile. He's just playing it off like, oh, whoops, my bad. I had no idea. No, you knew exactly what you were doing, Mr. Suarez. I know you. I played Mario Kart with you. You're not getting one over on me. I am on to you, sir. This is why I love him. This is what that is my future father-in-law. That's my future father-in-law, everybody.
Go on.
Derek, please keep going. What did you want to say?
Okay.
Yes. Forget what I said. Forget I said a word. My lips are sealed. Derek shot you a look that was both apologetic and encouraging. He turned back to the waiting eyes of his family and scratched his cheek. Mr. Suarez guessed it. We're dating. Okay, everyone meet my new boyfriend, Derek Suarez. Well, me and Derek are, what Mr. Suarez says. Way to spoil it, you joke. You reached over and took Derek's hand. You wanted Derek to explain it himself. Yeah. I'm gonna go over and take Derek's hand. Derek started, but when his brain caught up to what you were doing, his palm slid perfectly into place with yours. You watched his expression grow more confident. He was ready.
You got it.
You got it, Dad. We are dating. The soft way he confirmed that made your heart flutter. The soft way he confirmed that made your heart flutter in your chest. I'm more than happy to say it, even though someone else beat me to the punch. The parents were instantly elated by that news. Mrs. Suarez started clapping and knocked a shoulder into her husband's side.
Very good.
I hope that was going to be the news. This is amazing and quite a surprise, too. Mom bent forward with a chuckle and loudly snorted.
Happens.
I thought this might happen ever since Hark invited him to that soiree, remember? 10 years ago. Ma hummed nostalgically. She reached over and threaded her fingers together with Mom's.
Yes.
Derek has always been quite the gentleman. Hark is an excellent kid, and I know for a fact that Derek is a great guy. I'm sure things are going to work out for you two. George slowly shook his head off to the side. His crooked smile grew.
That makes sense.
You two together. It just makes sense. I'm happy for you. Thank you, George.
You.
Thanks. This means everything to me. Thank you so much. I promise to do my best by Derek. Cross my heart. I'm officially Team Suarez now. Sorry, family. Derek's on Team Angel now. Sorry. I'm glad my boyfriend comes with good in-laws. You blush wordlessly. I promise to do my best by Derek. Cross my heart. Of course you will. I don't doubt that for a second. I imagine they'll take good care of each other. Dang right. A bold as brass smirk hadn't left Liz's face, as to be expected from your big sister. Well, props to you, Suarez, coming up from behind. I thought you'd lost your painfully long moment when you never said anything about crushing on Hark for several years and then moved away. Her jab hit the mark, making Derek shudder one eye. His characteristic grin survived the strike.
I know.
I've fumbled it more than once, I can admit that. But I did it now, and a win is a win.
All right.
Wow, more props. Liz couldn't completely remove the wryness that was natural to her face, but when she looked at you again, her eyes were soft. I'm also happy for you, both of you. I cannot possibly imagine how romancing Mr. Let me do that for you over there could blow up in your face. Liz's encouragement was a huge deal to you, but the moment wasn't complete. Nicholas had been the only one in the crowd with nothing to say for the entire event. I know this is probably the hardest one, the most challenging one for Nicholas. That was strikingly uncharacteristic for the wild child. And his face was neutral. That absence of happiness worried you as much as sadness or anger would have. Maybe more. Nicholas simply not caring seemed worse than him being upset. But you didn't need to doubt for long. In the end, he smiled. The look wasn't forced or for a manner's sake. It reached his deep brown eyes. Nico's story about the night of summer soiree came back to you. He knew what was coming and prepared himself for this exact moment. Now that it was here, he was happy for Derek and for you. You were so grateful. Your whole family, Suarez, Angel, and Holden, could agree that you and Derek ought to be happy and that you should be happy together. And Derek was flushed with confidence after how well received the announcement was. He was invincible. There was nothing to fear, so he steamrolled ahead. There's actually more major news. At that point, he cut himself off. As excited as he was, Derek managed to hold his tongue and send a searching glance your way before answering anymore. It was understandable why Derek was so pumped. You'd been busy and had 2 life-changing decisions made in a single afternoon away. Your loved ones heard about your relationship. Next, they need to learn about the move. You gestured a hand for Derek to go ahead. You can tell them, you whispered. You cleared your throat to get everyone's attention. He got to talk about the relationship, so I'll handle this. Derek nodded, surely and supportively. He bowed out, so the stage was yours. You cleared your throat to get everyone's attention. And you did succeed in getting every eye on you. You're not getting rid of me after all. Derek's gonna let me move into his apartment. The crowd gasped, then went quiet, but not for a lack of feeling. Emotion was palpable, bubbling inside a shell of self-restraint. The first to express the thoughts of the majority was Ma. You know we wouldn't want you to live your lives for our sake, but I have to admit that I'm so glad you're going to be that close. Agreed, there's no denying that this is exciting. Hey, we're practically neighbors again. That's good with me. Mrs. Suarez and Mr. Suarez shared similar sentiments as your parents, and so did their sons.
That's great.
It's a smart plan for you too, I think, and it's made a lot of other people happy. Hooray! Very nice. I don't mind having you around more. He doesn't mind. He was trying to act like a grown-up, but that gracious statement didn't do much to hide the thrill coming out of his every pore.
Yeah.
This is great. There's so many things we weren't able to do on this trip, and now we'll be able to anytime. Nicholas played down his true feelings while George wore them openly. The oldest brother had to chuckle over the reversal. It was amazing and relieving to be welcomed home. You were more certain of your choice than ever. The wholesomeness of the moment couldn't have been complete if it was only sweet. Liz cut in with a dose of snark that made the taste perfectly right.
Seriously?
Sheesh, after 10 years of no progress, you're going at light speed now. And she wasn't wrong. You thought the exact same thing. Well, we're just storing up all our momentum for the right time. Now we've got the means to move full speed ahead. Laughter and lighthearted conversation continued within the walls of that apartment. Everyone was ready to pitch in with the move and had suggestions to offer. And then everything was put on hold when, for the first time, the doorbell rang. Is this Cove? Is he the last one? Dinner's here. Oh, the pizza. I was like, oh, and then Cove came. I'm like, okay, let's have Cove in here. Everybody else is here. Nicholas made a beeline to the door, his two older brothers at his heels. They gathered all the spoils from the delivery driver, gave a polite thanks, and promptly closed the apartment up again. George and Nicholas peered into the semi-opaque lids to figure out which drink was theirs, and Derek specially handed you the stuff you got for yourself. It was good the whole set of boys when considering all the additional items came stacked with the 3 pizzas, most of which were for you. Nicholas, George, and Derek helped set aside your goods safely. Hey, I mean, since Cove is not here, I've got to represent as like a heavy eater. This back before my metabolism like went haywire. Gotta take advantage of that as much as I can while I still had my metabolism. The feast was laid out on the counter, savory, steamy, and very cheesy. Derek stood between the guests and the meal to make a declaration. All right, everyone. In my house, instead of the youngest going first, the oldest do.
Good.
Ah, yes, respect our elders. How kind. I can't believe I'm considered an elder. How did I get so old? Mom and Ma offered comfort and condolences. They'd been members of that club for many a year. All the grown-ups filed through as a big group. At that point in their lives, determining who is truly the oldest of the old wasn't worth the trouble. Yeah, that's very realistic. It's like, well, yeah, we're just gonna go. We're not gonna go in old, like, age order because that's a can of worms we're not gonna open right now. When they'd picked over the cream of the crop, Liz made a clean sweep all on her own. You and Derek went together next, followed by George. Finally, Nicholas' turn came. His mouth was hooked up in an amused bend. Being last was a novelty, and he took his sweet time picking out the slices he wanted. Why not? He wasn't holding anyone up. Eventually, Nicholas selected his dinner, and the chairs around the apartment were filled with happy guests whose plates were equally full. It was a relief to see your and Derek's big announcement hadn't impacted anyone's appetite. Good food and pleasant conversation were enjoyed at Casa Derek. Nico went back to the boxes for seconds and thirds without needing anyone's permission. After eating, George moved from the table to chat with Liz, away from the parents. Nicholas abandoned the last bites of his 5th piece of pizza to scurry after his big brother. Derek stuck next to you as a rule, but there were cases when an exception was needed. Well, this is your party, and Liz's sort of. I won't hog you. You should get to see everyone who's here to see you. I'll be around. It was true. The two families had gathered for you and your sister on the final day of your trips. On your end, the event had turned into more of a welcome party than a farewell, but Liz was still leaving, and you didn't know for sure when you would be able to actually move. The time you had right now wasn't to be missed. Yeah, I will. Thanks. He's doing for me what I did for him. Derek took a step back with a nod and a wave. He, at least, was someone you'd certainly see again soon. You went to Mr. Suarez and Mrs. Suarez. You checked in with your moms and Mr. Holden. You joined up with Liz, George, and Nico. I'm gonna go to